welcome also our friend Dutch Sheets. Give him 15. Thank you, Dutch, for being here. You know, I got to tell you, Dutch, I'm impressed you do Give him 15 every day, or almost every day. Does it ever do you ever get tired of it?
Oh my goodness, yes, Gene. I don't get tired of the content.
I know what you mean.
But it is so challenging at times to come up with a fresh word or teaching and prayer every day. And so sometimes I go to the Lord literally and sit and pray and meditate and say, Lord, I need your grace. Give me something for the people that is worthwhile today. And he always comes through. But sometimes, literally, I do that for an hour or two, Gene. Just waiting on the Lord, praying, flipping through the scriptures, saying, come on, Lord, because I want it to be fresh. I want it to be something relevant, not just a devotional, but something that's prophetic, something that's relevant for prayer now. Anyway, thanks for asking. I want you to feel sorry for me sometimes, Gene.
No, but you know what? I was just thinking as you're saying all that, it's uncanny how, because I know these are done way ahead of time, or somewhat ahead of time. It's amazing how accurate they have seemed to fall on a day when you needed to hear exactly what you had to say. And so many times I get up out of bed looking for coffee, and somewhere in the house, my wife Terry has the phone on. I'm hearing Dutch in my house first thing in the morning. I'm like, what is Dutch saying today? So thank you for doing Give 'em 15.
You're married to a wise lady.
Yes, yes, I agree, 100%, 100%. Also join us from Los Angeles, Matthew Barnett. Matthew, I have this strange urge to color the screen right now with that background. All right, so before we get into the conversation, Matthew, because there's so much you're doing, if you don't know who Matthew Barnett, I want you to watch this.
Can you imagine having a hospital that would never close? That would be open to anybody that was in need? I said, Dad, we're going to build 24-hour churches, can be open all hours of the day. People are going to come in and get food, clothing, housing, and all that. Every single floor was flooded with trash and garbage. And one by one, we just started taking on rooms and just opening them up for people, and then a floor, and then we had enough faith to take on another floor. And then eventually here we are today, 30 years later, just doing the same thing every day. If you're in a slump, if you don't think you can keep going, it's almost unfair to walk through the campus in a sense of motivation, because you see people clean for the first time in their life. You see 4 generations bring their people into the program and they all succeed. We saw one period of time, over 3 years, crime dropped 73%.
The police accredited us because we had changed the environment, not just picking up the trash and painting out the graffiti, but meeting the needs of the families, knocking on the doors, bringing relief to see that people do care and we have avenues to help you.
People's dreams can become a reality. And we don't just say that like some fancy little marketing slogan. We have the power and the resources to walk people through every layer of life.
We had a dream for people who didn't know how to dream for themselves. That's actually how the Dream Center got its name. As guys were graduating our first year recovery program, they said, you should call it the Dream Center because I'm dreaming again.
And it's amazing. Now, Matthew, I got to tell you, that by itself was a huge undertaking. I remember when you started, I'm like, boy, that is a big job, and look what God has done. But that's not all. You're also the pastor of Angelus Temple Foursquare Church. That name sounds familiar to a lot of you watching because that was founded 1924 by Amy Semple McPherson. Okay, Matthew, what was that like to take over that building?
It's incredible. You know, you walk through the halls and you just kind of feel just the history in LA, you know, and a time where Los Angeles really, you know, clinged to God and they moved it towards God at least. And there was an openness to it. And now we're starting to see, you know, through a lot of tragedy and stuff that we've been through here, through the fires and, you know, the church stepping up, that, you know, people are being at least, you know, they're being drawn back to the message of the church. And I really feel this is our finest hour. And, you know, you saw the video, all the lives being changed that live in our rehab program. And we just realized that we're not just ministering to people's need. That's what government does, but we're ministering to people's potential and what they can be. So when people show up to the Dream Center, they've lost everything, fentanyl addiction, drug addiction, abuse, things like that. We don't look at them and say, you know, questions of how are you going to get by? We ask them, what is your dream? Because the Bible says that where there's no revelation, people cast off restraint, which means there's no reason to have self-control if you have nothing great to live for. So we just try to not only get to the need of people, but we progress them into the potential of what they could become. And I think that's what's kept us here for 30 years. We've weathered storms. We've been turned down for grants. There's been things because of our faith we haven't been allowed to receive, but we stayed the course and just kept it about beans and rice and Jesus Christ, 24/7. And I think that's been the sustaining power and why people's lives really do change around this campus.
Oh, it's great. I like that, beans and rice and Jesus Christ. All right, Rob, Rob McCoy, I'm sitting here listening to Matthew like you are, and I think that what we're seeing right here in front of us, this is the church in action. This is what it's supposed to be.
Amen. And Matthew comes from good stock. Tommy is just remarkable. I mean, that man bleeds hope, and his two boys have been world changers. And I've seen the Dream Center before Matthew took over there, and that place was an eyesore. It was problematic. And for him to turn it into a place of hope and to see how the Lord's used him and all who are involved at the Dream Center, it is a picture of the church. And we have gone through, we're 17 miles from the fires that devastated the Palisades and also Pasadena. And yet the church is stepping up. It's wonderful to see. And government is failing, but the church is not. And I'm just so grateful for you, Matthew. Thanks for all you do, brother.
Yes, absolutely, indeed. In fact, thank you for bringing that up, Rob, because as we all remember, January, those catastrophic wildfires in LA County resulting in billions of dollars of damage, loss, and destruction. Pastor Matthew, you and your family were actually displaced from your home, and you headed straight to the Dream Center to mobilize relief. 19,000 cars brought 80,000 people to be fed by over 8,000 volunteers. Think about that, pastors, 8,000 volunteers. 150,000 residents were displaced, and more than 33,000 insurance claims filed in the LA area. Insurance companies began dropping coverage and offering lowball payouts overnight. Listen, Matthew, go back to, and we're seeing this B-roll, all you guys are doing. Go back to those, that night when, the fires ravaged through. What were you thinking? Obviously, you thought, I got to get to the Dream Center, but this was a huge, devastating effect for Los Angeles County.
Yeah, I'm in the city right next to Altadena. So when the winds were blowing, I know those Santa Ana winds. They're like almost feel like a hurricane winds that were coming through. And I went outside to my backyard and I saw flames that were on the hill. I said, this is going to burn the whole city. I couldn't believe it. So we just packed up and we went to the Dream Center, and I was trembling. And then I went to the rooftop of the Dream Center. You can see everything. The whole city's on fire. It felt like it was the end of the world. And then the next morning I woke up and I just told our team, I said, whatever we have, let's just put on the parking lot. That's always been our message. Just use whatever we have and see where God takes it. So we just started putting food out there, but we could barely breathe. We were choking, we were coughing. It looked like, the red sky completely. And we just said, we're just going to just try to help people. If we give away food, let people know where they can go. We didn't realize it would turn in 19,000 cars in a few weeks or 1,000. Anything we do is not like that. We just make ourselves available. And then people started showing up and just pulling up, getting food, and just reaching and running out of the cars looking for someone to hug. And I think that's really what the church provides in tough times. They provide a place for people to tell their story, what they're going through. And through that whole process of what was taking place, we began to find out really what people were dealing with. People had no money. They had no resource. They had no way to find these resources. They were being turned down on a lot of levels, getting very little. And so we just kind of sat down and walked them through and began to help people pay people's rent and, get them through. I was with a guy yesterday, actually, a story we're going to post today. One of his relatives was burned alive in the fire. We know one street where 7 people died. And, it's one of those things where, they got hit so hard initially, but now the layers of reality are hitting even harder in the sense of how do I rebuild my life from rock bottom for years and years down the road. And I think that LA's made it so difficult for people to get any type of help. They're almost giving up and going to places like Dream Center and other places saying, look, you guys will do it right now. And I think that's what we've always been about.
Yeah, absolutely. Dutch, let me go to you. The devastation was staggering, and the reality is, because it's not in the mainstream media, people, good, well-meaning Americans just have a tendency to forget about it. because they're not seeing and hearing about it. But this is we're still dealing with stuff in Maui from those fires, and here we have this. But I want you to comment on what you heard Matthew say right there. Sometimes people just getting out and needing a hug to say it's going to be all right. It's massive. Giving the hope and the Dream Center and instilling hope, it really does make a difference.
It makes a huge difference, and I commend Matthew for what he's doing. You know, I don't think there's anything that opens the heart of a person more quickly than being in a difficult situation and someone bringing them hope, someone bringing them food, clothing. I was actually in Guatemala in 1976 when the earthquake hit. I was there when it hit. That killed 30,000 people in 30 seconds. 1 million of the 7 million were homeless. We helped them, but we started taking teams in there to help them rebuild through the day. And at night, we would do services and preach the gospel. Well, thousands of people went and helped them. And before that was over, I've been told that as many as 50% of Guatemalans became believers. And so God used the tragedy to open the hearts of people to him. And that's what Matthew's doing. That's what others like him are doing. I am so impressed with it. I'm so blessed to hear these reports of believers just getting in the trenches and saying, how can I help? We tried to help the hurricane victims here in the Carolinas, and we've been able to. We didn't do it. People just started donating us to give to them. And it's been hundreds of thousands of dollars that we've been able to funnel to them.
Amazing.
Actually, several million. We're blessed to be a part of that. And I just commend those for what they're doing. God's going to use this.
He is. In fact, one of the great things that I saw, of course, Matthew, we saw Sean leading worship out there on all of social media. I mean, what a great time that was. But, you're drawing, this is what going back to what we talked to Rob about, this is the church being the church is a great example of that. And it draws other people in. In fact, I want to show this video of somebody that actually kind of brought in to be a part. That person's Ryan Seacrest. Watch.
As soon as I saw that ball of flame, I knew it was time to leave.
So tell me about your home.
It was always my dream to be in Altadena. We said one day we'll live there.
Tuesday, we got the evacuation. Next day, everything was gone.
You can't even believe it's real.
It's been hard. I mean,
This is me picking through the ash.
Our home was in Altadena.
And it's gone.
I was trying to drive through and the firefighters stopped me, and then they asked me what's your address, and I let them know. They was like, your house is on fire.
And you lost your home in Altadena?
And my son's school.
School too.
Yeah.
The wind was picking up. Then I heard banging on my front door. We could see the fire, could see the flames and how quickly they were burning.
My aunt did make it out of it. Oh my gosh.
This whole situation is just really humbling. Just even to look out here and see the amount of people working and yourself being here.
Just to see our city come together and help strangers. Here is something for me to get started on the right foot, and I know it's going to be a long journey and process. This is a check to start in some direction that's positive. Good luck. I'm so sorry.
Thank you. Thank you so much. May I hug you?
Of course.
We'll go and I'll rebuild. We're all resilient and we'll persevere.
Your Dream Center, I had no idea what it was, and this is amazing what you guys do here.
They are always here. I'm always here too. You can always call me at Kiss FM every morning.
It's awesome. Matthew, tell me about that connection with Ryan Seacrest. How did that happen?
Yeah, Ryan just heard through iHeartRadio some of the stuff that was going on through some of the ads they were doing for free for us, and he called me directly and he goes, Pastor Matthew, this is Ryan, and I didn't know who that was. I didn't ever think it would be Ryan Seacrest. He said, I want to help families. Can you find some families I can just give some resource to? And I said, sure. So he came by. Supposed to be a half hour, spent over 2.5 hours here talking to people, walking the grounds, finding out why we do what we do, and meeting people in rehab. And it was just such an unbelievable event. And it just showed me really that that tragedies like this have a wonderful opportunity to bring people together. And still today, he's connected as a friend. He just really just wants to be around people that are broken and wants to be a part of helping them. And there's so much in people that you never knew was in them until situations like this happen. Then you find out it's really what they've always believed. They're just looking for an outlet of somebody who can kind of connect them to the people. And that's what we've been able to do with Ryan. And then we had Ivanka Trump come by and spend time with us. This is the first administration that's ever been actually to the Dream Center from the White House. We had Ivanka come by. We had Scott Turner from HUD who came by. And so it's been really neat to see this administration kind of really looked at places of faith, to say these are one of the great hidden gems in America. They got a huge volunteer base in their church. They have all this stuff they can do for basically nothing. And so I really believe that this is kind of a part of the transformation of America, of looking for different solutions and really more affordable ways to save American people money, and yet to turn people loose, not people that are begging for money, but people who have already been doing it and have the opportunity, to really maximize effectiveness.
Well, yeah, and the reality is the church can do this so much better, so much more efficiently than government ever could. Rob, I mean, you're seeing this, you're smiling, watching the videos like I am. Seeing what this happening, this is a shining example of what we need to do as pastors, churches, and people that are working.
Amen. And Matthew is a modern day George Mueller. What's happening there is remarkable. And to see guys like Ryan Seacrest, trauma is the great equalizer in a community. And regardless of where your faith is, we're all affected by the trauma. When I was the mayor of Thousand Oaks and we had the shooting, and then the same day we had fires that encircled the city and we had to evacuate the elderly from care facilities, the entire community came together. And it's amazing because the church is equipped for trauma. And that's where the message just reaches deeply to every heart. And there's not a better voice in the entire area than the Dream Center with Pastor Matthew. And I've watched what he's done. Yeah. When Secretary Turner came through, he wanted to get a bunch of clergy together. So I assisted in doing that. And I had a chance to meet two evangelical pastors in the Palisades. Both their churches were destroyed. And since then, we've become very close friends. And I got a call this morning. I can't go into detail, but there's a likelihood that a donor is going to help rebuild both of those churches to their completion. So I'll keep you posted on that. It's kind of exciting.
That's very exciting. Matthew, I got to ask you personally, is this something you always wanted to do this sort of outreach, the Dream Center?
Yeah, I came here at 20 years of age pastoring only because my dad needed someone for 3 months to help him take over an old building. So I was only supposed to be here for 3 months. I've been here for 30 years. But, I took a prayer. I took a walk around LA and I saw so much brokenness and so much hurt. And that night when I was praying, I just really felt something in my spirit say, don't be a city pastor, be a city janitor. Walk through the streets of LA and pick up broken pieces and tell people they can dream again. And that was the beginning of just kind of reshaping my life. Everything I did failed in the first year. Pastoring, my church went from 18 down to 2, negative momentum everywhere, not knowing what I was doing, crying every night as a 20-year-old kid. And then I just walked through the valley and realized that all the vision that you ever need to build something is in the valley of pain and heartache. And so took in 2 homeless guys that lived in my house, and really kind of failure of doing it one way opened the door for me to hit rock bottom. And I realized that the greatest place that a dream can go is rock bottom, because God doesn't destroy dreams in rock bottom. He rebuilds them. Wow. And he began to show me dreams that I never knew that I had. I didn't know that I loved people that were on Skid Row. I didn't know that I love people that are coming out of prison so much, but brokenness and the friendships I met along the way of losing everything really became the grounds for building the Dream Center. And so we only had $50,000 a year in our offering. 90% of our church was homeless. We're making a bid on the Queen of Angels Hospital, which Halloween was filmed here, Nightmare on Elm Street was filmed here. We had to pray every demon out of this building, right? 400,000 square feet. The Catholic Church sold it to us for $3.9 million instead of $16 million. They were going to sell it to movie Paramount for. And we were out of our league. We had no money, no way to figure out how to do it. We were getting hate mail telling us that we were reckless and irresponsible. And I wasn't even mad at the hate mail. I was even agreeing with them. I'm like, you are so right. But faith just is more curious than fear. And one more step into this 30-year journey of renovating this hospital.
Wow, and what a journey it's been. All right, but I want everybody to, FlashPoint Army, listen, the job is still there. I mean, we didn't even get to your ash out teams that help people dig through the ash and help them get stuff out of the ash. I mean, that's a whole nother ministry you've done. But I want to put up the graphic here where people can help. So, Matthew, tell us what you need. What do you need help there at the Dream Center?
Oh, yeah, we need volunteers every day from 3 to 7. We're doing feeding, a walk-up line that's serving about 800 people a day. They go to dreamcenter.org right there on your site, and just let us know you want to come volunteer. We'll put you in immediately, same day, same hour. You can even just show up and we'll get you involved, because we'd love to have you come support. If you can't, obviously, show up and support. You can donate online as well. That'd be great. But we just love you and thankful. We try to say yes to every donation, because we're trying to cultivate a spirit of serving in the city of LA. So, but we'd just love to have you here and see you on campus and serving and helping people.
Well, I think it's amazing. Matthew, I've been trying to get you on. We've been working on your schedule, but thank you for coming on. And, okay, FlashPoint Army, dreamcenter.org. If you live anywhere near there, go volunteer. But I know our FlashPoint Army is ready to help the victims of fire and the homelessness and everything that's happening there. Go to dreamcenter.org and make your donation there to help. Thank you so much, Matthew, for what you're doing. You're encouraging. You've encouraged me today, and I think I know the FlashPoint Army is loving what they're seeing, and I know your dad too, and I know he's excited about what you guys are doing. So thank you for coming by FlashPoint today.
Thank you, Rob. Everyone, Dutch, I appreciate you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. You know, Dutch, I love what Matthew said when he said God called him to be not a city pastor, but a city janitor. That was a powerful statement.
Amazing. And it was powerful. That whole segment was powerful, Gene. When he said he walked through the city when he moved there and God started touching his heart.
Yeah.
I don't know if I could even get this out without crying, but I remember a pastor years ago, and I wish I could remember his name. I'd give him credit. But he had become too busy and too distracted with a large church. And so one day he was praying and he was crying, and he was driving through his city at 2 a.m, praying and saying, God, I can't hear my city anymore. And that was his way of saying, I've lost touch with the people and their needs and their hurts. And he just said, I can't hear them. Help me hear the people again. God worked a miracle, and he began to hear supernaturally what was happening in these houses, this poor, poverty-stricken part of town. And he could hear children crying. From hunger. He could hear husbands and wives fighting and people being beaten and abused. And he began to weep. Well, God allowed him to be touched again with the feeling of their infirmities, as Christ was. And I would just say to people, hey, ask God to open your heart. Go somewhere where you can see it. Go somewhere where you can touch somebody that's hurting. Help them dig something out of the ashes. Help serve a meal to someone that's hungry. This is huge. This is a big deal. God wants to touch the hearts of the church so we can maximize the opportunity to reach them for Christ. Powerful, powerful, powerful segment, Gene.
Yeah, it was. And Rob, I'll go to you to wrap it up before we go to the break. What is it that the people need to take from this? I mean, of course, we know the great job Matthew's doing with the Dream Center, but people sitting at home and going, I don't have a hospital that I own, or I don't have this, I don't have that, I don't know what's God want me to do. What would you say to them? People that want to help, but they don't know where to start.
Yeah, don't despise a day of small beginnings. It's like the grandpa walking with his grandson on the beach after the hurricane, and all the starfish have washed up on the beach, and the waves have receded, and they're all dying in the sun, and the grandson's trying to throw them back one at a time, and the grandpa says, there's too many, you won't make a difference. And he's saying, I'm making a difference for this one, and I'm making a difference for this one. That's Matthew. You know, when he said he was walking the streets and he was broken and church went from 18 to 2, God made him a nobody so he could minister to everybody. I know Matthew. That is one of the sweetest human beings. I mean, he's so sweet he choke a hummingbird. And there's humility in that man. And he has faith. He trusts the Lord. And it's not done by enormous donations. It's done by, FlashPoint Army. And Gene, everywhere I go, I mean, I'm with Charlie and I'm on shows here and shows there and I do stuff. the number one response I get everywhere I go is, I saw you on FlashPoint. And I'm not the guy who's always on the show with you. I mean, you know, you call me when there's nobody left and you're dragging the bottom of the barrel. But I have to tell you, the FlashPoint Army is faithful. For a guy like Matthew Barnett, you just did a small donation. That's going to go a long, long way. Matthew does it right, and he's the most humble human being I've ever met. You will not waste a penny when you give it to the Dream Center. And that precious, precious brother.
You know him, you love him, you can't live without him. Kirk Cameron, also known as Mr. Kirk. Well, the day's finally arrived. March 27th, the official release date for your new children's TV series, Iggy and Mr. Kirk. For those that haven't heard about it, tell us a little bit about it, Kirk.
Hey, Gene. Mr. Iggy and Mr. Kirk is essentially what we're dubbing as a modern-day Mr. Rogers for families in America today. So this is a wholesome, classic, traditional values show that is Mr. Rogers meets Sesame Street. And it's faith-friendly. It's rooted in biblical values. It's got beautiful animation, as you can see right there, along with puppets. We've got the master puppeteer who did Kermit the Frog for Jim Henson's Muppets, along with Elmo. And we've even got a vulture named Culture who's always lying to Iggy. There he is, and deceiving him. And so Iggy's got to rely on the biblical wisdom of his mom and dad and his sister as he's being raised in their backyard treehouse together with a lovable cast of other puppets. And this is a show for 4 to 8-year-olds that is safe without a second thought, and that kids are going to absolutely love.
All right, so other than that, looking like some of the guests I've had on the show, why is it so important for parents to be locked in, and grandparents, to be locked in and intentional about their children's content they're watching?
Oh, my goodness. Because it's framing their worldview. It's either nourishing their hearts and minds, or it's rotting them. You know, more and more data is coming out that's drawing the conclusions for those of us who are parents and content creators that overstimulation of children through bad TV shows, all the blinking lights, the 2 to 3 second jump cuts and the non-diegetic sounds, is now posing as big of a risk as artificial and processed foods for your children. So just as you can rot their insides with chemicals and garbage, you can actually digitally poison their little brains, and that's why so many kids are having so many struggles these days, and they're not learning the values that we used to learn back when we were kids, watching shows like Little House on the Prairie and other types of shows that I tried to make, like Growing Pains and others. But now we've got some alternatives to the woke Purple Hair Platoon and Disney and Nickelodeon. We've got some wholesome shows that ignite kids' imagination for their good.
So what's the takeaway? What do you want parents and their kids and grandkids to take away from watching the show?
Well, first of all, I want you to know that it's launching today. It's actually available on Brave Plus, and you no longer need to look at screen time as an exclusively bad thing. Just like culture can be redeemed, and screen time can be renewed if we're careful and selective about the things we let our kids see. So if you just go to your smart TV and you download the Brave Plus app, you can watch the first 3 episodes for free. We've filmed 2 complete seasons. That's 20 episodes. Plus, there are 50 more shows on there that have been vetted to make sure they're not overstimulating. They're in line with biblical values. And you're going to absolutely be able to trust them. Your kids are going to love them. And you can get it at Brave Plus, the app on your TV, or braveplus.com.
Excellent. All right. You know, I don't know if you're old enough, Dutch, to actually have, grandchildren. But when you see what we're seeing here, this is encouraging for parents and grandparents to have options, not just an option, but a biblical-based option for their kids to watch.
Yeah, the verse that is an interesting passage coming to my mind as I watch this, and really about the program today. 2 Corinthians 11:3 says, "Don't be deceived from the simplicity and purity of devotion to Christ." Sometimes we just get too complicated. How simple is it to say, let's take the love of Jesus to those who are hurting and have suffered this loss. How simple is it to say, let's minister to these children, these truths at this young age. We can shape them into the people God wants them to be. And that is devotion to Christ. He said, how are you devoted to me? You feed the poor. You give to those in need. I think this is incredible. This program today is just stirring me, Gene.
It is. It's stirring. Rob McCoy, I mean, you've listened to Kirk Cameron. You know what he's been doing. What do you think? Grandparents, should they get involved?
Absolutely. The wonderful thing about Kirk is he's probably one of the hardest, if not the hardest, working man in Hollywood. And he puts his money where his mouth is. He was out there doing content and doing story hours when you had the transvestites out there doing their deal on story hours in libraries, and he went out to contend with culture, and he puts together quality material, and he cares about kids. His own family, he practices what he preaches. His kids are precious. He and his wife have been wonderful parents and continue to be so. And I had the privilege to be with him here at our fellowship at Godspeak. And I know the man. And Kirk, the work you're doing, this is unbelievable. And my family in particular, with my grandkids, I'm thrilled about what you're doing. So keep it up, brother.
Yes, that's right.
Hey,
keep it up,
Rob,
Kirk.
It's so great to see you, Rob. And can you believe I'm a grandfather now? I had to pick out my grandpa name, and I moved to Tennessee. So they go full Cracker Barrel out here with like Peepaw and Pawpaw. And I'm a California guy. So you know what? I heard somebody had their grandkids call him Chief. And I'm going with that. I'm going with Chief for my grandpa name. And Rob, thank you. You are a bold and courageous man. Dutch, I appreciate you so much. I remember going to Godspeak, and Rob was just open when everybody else was closed, and there wasn't enough room for people to come to the church because he had basically said, look, we have immunity in community. This is the hospital. This is the church. I don't have the authority to close this place. Come on. And he took on the local government and, opened up when only the weed shops and the strip clubs and that liquor stores were open because our governor had deemed those essential services and the church not. And, Rob, you inspired that whole event called Non-Essential that you and Charlie came to, and the American Campfire Revival in my backyard was essentially my attempt to do what you had already been doing for hundreds of episodes there at the church. So I'm honored to be standing shoulder to shoulder with you guys.
Yeah, it's awesome. All right, Kirk, thank you for what you're doing. Congratulations on the launch. And I'm sure there's a lot of FlashPoint Army grandparents like myself. They're thinking, yay, great what you're doing. We're going to go out there, braveplus.com. Thank you for being with us today.